Everybody, welcome to the Purple Friday Show, episode 202, pre-Thanksgiving episode. Doing a little bit earlier than we usually do today. But we'll get right into it. And I know you guys got Thanksgiving plans, get on the road or wherever they're going to go. Um, but the Ravens are now 9-3, heading into was it week 12. Um, beat the Bengals on Thursday Night Football. I'll start off by I think we said in the group chat that had to be the longest first half of football I have ever, because the second half felt like it went by pretty normal, but that first half was an issue. Um, but the Ravens pull it out. Obviously, Joe Burrow had an undisclosed wrist injury, whatever that was, that happened to him. I know the NFL said they're investigating whatever happened with him, obviously because of deal with betting issues. But um, I'm not going to give them any bail for the simple fact that the Bengals fans kept complaining year in and year out about us, and the Ravens fans saying, "Look, if Lamar was in there, we would have beaten y'all and all that good stuff." And they didn't want to give us the same kind of leeway. So I'm like, I'll take it. But during the game, the Ravens lose Mark Andrews. Maybe for the year, we'll get on that later. But it wasn't the best game, obviously, for the Ravens offense, especially that defense. Joe Mixon was a problem for them in the first half. They were able to get it controlled in the second half, but obviously Joe Burrow going down was a huge gift, I think, for the Ravens for the rest of that football game. But the Ravens, what I will say, what I do like now, it feels like the Ravens are comfortably scoring 30 plus points like with ease now, like every week. And even if it's ugly, like the Ravens are still scoring 30 plus points, which we haven't seen since September of last year. So the fact that they're doing that now gives me a lot more confidence for them going through the rest of the season. But what do you guys what did you guys see? What did you guys think?
Yeah, it was definitely one of those games where it started off pretty crazy as always. The fact that Andrews went down so early in the game, it was just like, here we go. Like I think that was the first quarter still when that happened. Um, but once that happened, it did give us a good feeling knowing that with him going down, we were still able to pretty much dominate the rest of the game as well. With the game plan, is the guy just kind of just stepped up and took that place. And I think that's one of the questions that the Ravens have always kind of had, but we've never really had to answer those questions because we've always had, you know, Lamar's safety blanket or whatever you want to call it. And if it's not Andrews and his tight ends in general, and when he went down, you kind of saw everybody step up on the receiver end. I mean, Odell had a over 100-yard game. He looked pretty phenomenal. I mean, it took him a while to get going, but once he got going, it's kind of like, it was kind of easy. And you see Lamar, pretty much throughout the season now, you're kind of seeing him able to target guys outside of his normal go-to primary targets. It's like everyone can get the ball at any snap at this point. So that's always a good thing as well. Um, the thing with Burrow, as far as, Burrow going down, it was kind of like kind of had a feeling. I mean, he came. We saw everything in the media with the brace on his hand or whatever that gadget was he had on his hand, and it was kind of like it definitely seemed like they were kind of trying to hide something, especially the way that they deleted the video that quick off of social media. So it was kind of funny seeing that, and then also with the play that he actually got hurt on, where he threw the touchdown pass to Joe Mixon. Um, you kind of see exactly what happened. It seems like a ligament or something tore in that hand, whatever the case may be. You can kind of see it happen. Then they were trying to say that maybe he aggravated on that sack on the previous few plays, but he didn't even make like a wincing face or anything when he went down with that. So I find it hard to believe that that's what caused the injury. This is obviously something that was lingering. So um, even still, our offense still had to perform. I mean, Joe Burrow wasn't in the game, but nobody's automatically spotting him 40 points either. Who's to say he was going to score 40 points? We still put up 30, 34 points on him. And like Miles said, we've been doing it pretty much with ease. It's kind of like as these games go on, they don't seem like they're going to get to 30 points, but in the flow of the game, they figure out how to get to 30 points, like somehow, some way. The running game looked pretty good. The running game is back going, so that's a good thing to look forward to going forward. I love that they were making Keaton Mitchell involved in the game. I do think they probably should start to think about incorporating some Keaton Mitchell specific run schemes and things like that, because it does seem like, they just responded to what the criticism was, and they were like, okay, did y'all want Keaton Mitchell? And they were just kind of force feeding Keaton Mitchell on random plays, and some of them weren't work, some of them were decent, but still love what I see out of Keaton Mitchell. I think it's only going to get better going forward in the season, and Gus look good as well. So not really too much criticism outside of obviously what I predicted, before the game. Joe Mixon was going to be there. He was going to be a thorn. And he was definitely a problem. He was pretty much 100% of their production offensively. I mean, outside of him or the threat of him in almost every possession, uh, that's really all they had going for him. Especially when Burrow went down, it was just nothing more to say. And lastly, I'll just finish off with the defense playing great again. I mean, Kyle Hamilton did what Kyle Hamilton does, and who's rounding out, shaping out to be one of the MVPs of this defense. I mean, maybe with Roquan Smith is Brandon Stevens. Brandon Stevens looks great. I mean, we didn't hit Jamar Chase one time in this entire game except for the garbage TD towards the end. I mean, Brandon Stevens had him locked down the entire game with Joe Burrow and without Joe Burrow. So, at this point, it's not even like a shocking thing. He's officially reset what the standard is for him playing in that position. So he's already pretty much solidified at this point. For you to go against Jamar Chase multiple times, um, and come out with those type of results is very, very impressive. I mean, it's probably one of the impressive games I've seen just based on the talent level that they had on the field and things like that. Did they benefit without, to not have T. Higgins in the game? Of course, they benefited. It helped. But majority of that game, Brandon Stevens was one-on-one with Jamar Chase, and Jamar Chase couldn't do nothing with him. So that's very positive. Looking forward to down the line in the next season. But overall, good game. Still a lot of stuff to clean up, but I was happy with what I seen for the most part.
Can't hear you, Travis.
Oh, sorry. I don't know how I muted myself. Yeah, my biggest critique was the run game. We are still leaky on defense. Like, I don't know why or what is happening. I got to really dig in on the all 22, but we're not setting the edge like we were. We're not keeping them stopped up front on the line. And then Patrick Queen has been regressing as a tackling machine these past few weeks. We're starting to see a lot more missed tackles and a lot of additional yards. Granted, Joe Mixon became a non-factor as the game went on, but when the game was in doubt, he was carrying that Bengals team. And we've been susceptible to the run. And if I could look at the flaw of this team right now, the one that's glaring, I mean, we all know about the offensive line struggles, but the one that's glaring because it's something that can really do damage is the run game, the run defense. So we really got to really hone down on that, man. Um, Defensive backfield, like you said, Brandon Stevens, my guy. I've been riding with my guy, Brandon Stevens, all year, all pro Brandon Stevens. He played well. Kyle Hamilton. I mean, I can't say enough about him. Darby played well.
Even Marcus played well. Marcus Williams played well this game too.
Yeah, Marcus was slinging that one arm around, knocking balls down. Matabuke might have made himself unletgoable, like an untouchable. Like he has to stay and get re-signed. So defensively, we're so strong. And offensively, you know, it's getting scary hours, man. It's getting scary hours because Odell is starting to get his confidence back.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he's looking faster. He's looking way faster than he did at the beginning of the year. He's looking more fluid, like more sure of himself. So that's scary for other teams. Like if Odell gets his confidence going, and it's such an outlet for Lamar, especially with Andrews going down, because outside of my parlay, that's devastating for this Ravens team. But I think we have a solid guy in Isaiah Likely, who I think hasn't been involved in the game as much. But even more so, I think the wide receiver starting to step up and really play better and more consistently is really going to make that absence less hurtful the regular season, and more of an impact for the postseason, and have questions for the postseason. But I think right now, offensively, we look good. Similar to like what you both said, like we have to figure out unique ways to get Keaton Mitchell the ball. You have, and I think a great example is how New Orleans used to use Alvin Kamara and how they still use him.
Mm-hmm.
Move around in different places. Don't just line them up in the backfield and hand the ball off. Be creative in how we get them the ball. Not what we're doing that weird reverse we did 2 weeks ago, but just creative ways just to get him touches. I think going forward, you got to give him 10 to 11 touches a game. Gus has to be the main guy, but Keaton Mitchell needs a variety of touches, and that's going to take this offense to the next level, because if you can establish a guy with that type of speed as a threat, it's going to open a door for Lamar, Gus, the passing game. It's gonna have the defense on their heels, which is right where we want them. So I want to see them be creative with how they get him the ball. But outside of that, solid game. Harbaugh didn't lose us the game, which I'm happy about. And we're number one seed in the AFC.
Yeah, and didn't steal the yams this week. Didn't steal the yams.
Did not do that.
What I did like about I think how they ended the game was they closed the game out, right? The offense had the ball. Lamar was on several of those plays, like running the ball and like sliding down, rolling, whatever he was doing, getting what was there, and just kind of like keeping the ball, keep just controlling the clock, not giving the Bengals a chance to close the game out. So I think we've said, like, it's even in this game, right? We saw at least 3 or 4 occasions where the deep ball was like, it was the last few weeks. It's been there. It's been like a yard either too short or a yard too long. Somebody loses it in the sun. Like, it's the deep play. The deep plays are there. I feel like if they can start getting that and nailing that down, the Ravens could be easily up, 17 points on teams in the first half, like it's nothing, easily. Because they got the speed to do it. You got Keaton Mitchell, where we can run those wheel routes up there. You got Zay and Bateman, and like Bateman with his yak yardage, especially the last 2 years. I think with Andrews out, it's going to open up the field a lot more for these wide receivers, because you now can't just rely on Mark Andrews to control the middle of the field. You're going to have to rely on Odell, Zay, and Bateman, even Aguilar to an extent. So it's going to open it up a lot more, and we'll see what Likely and Kolar had. You see what they got, going. I think somebody made a good point. It's, even though Andrews went down, they were like, if this was last year, it'd have been in the season. Even with Lamar healthy, if this was last year with the receiving core they had, the last 2 years, like, we're not coming back from this. But with the receiving core they have now and how they've continually gotten better each week, we're like, yeah, it still hurts. He's still one of the most productive players on this team, arguably the number 2 tight end in the NFL. But it's one I think they can survive, losing. Like, it's part of the NFL. Guys are going to lose key guys on both sides of the ball at some point. But I think it's, as I was saying, I think I was telling my dad, I was like, as long as we got Lamar, we're good. I think as Lamar is on the field, they have a solid chance of winning most of these football games right now. Now, I wanted to mention Odafe Owe now has a sack in the last 3 games. He's had 1 sack in 3 games now. In each game. So he's got 4 sacks on the season, since he's come back. Like, so he's starting to, if he can start creeping, I'm not going to say he's going to get 10, but if he can get to around 7 or 8, I'm liking our chances. And Matt BK's got 9.5 sacks on the season. You're right, Travis. I think he might be pricing himself out of Baltimore. The other issue, I think they brought up a little bit at the beginning of the game or towards the end, that Broderick Washington was a healthy scratch from this game. Considering he just got a nice contract in the offseason, And they asked Harbaugh why they didn't have him in there. Oh well, it was part of the scheme. This, Harbaugh speak the scheme thing, whatever he was
Mm-hmm.
not part of our schemes. You just paid this man, a pretty good decent amount of money. He needs to be involved in every scheme that's on the defensive line. Like why they had, I guess look, Michael Pierce played well against the Cardinals in that game, but you're paying Broderick Washington to be that run stopper up the middle. And then, look, he hasn't played well since he's gotten the contract. He's first couple weeks was okay, but since then he's kind of he's been down. And I think they sat him. They obviously don't cause any issues, but they sat him because he hasn't been playing well. So they're letting guys like Travis Jones and Brent Urban and the rest of those guys, kind of fill that position, I guess, until maybe after the bye week. Now, like you guys were saying about like this linebacker situation when it comes to covering, we thought that was fixed, right? At the beginning of the season, it didn't seem like an issue. Now, the last 2 weeks has become an issue now. I will attribute this to saying I think the guys are just tired. I think they're just tired. Like they haven't had I think they got a mini bye week this week, but they've been playing football and traveling and all that other stuff. They look tired out there. Everybody does. The line, still played. They played okay this past week. They still weren't protecting as well as they should have. But I think a lot of it's just gassed. Keith Mitchell looks obviously fresh out there because he hasn't played most of the season. So he has a full burst of energy. But everybody else looks a little tired. They look a little tired out there. But look, they got to get a W. The Chiefs lose, Monday night. Ravens are solidly in first place now in the conference. I will say this with the Chiefs looking, they don't look as unbeatable as they have in years past, right? This is clearly a team that can be beat. I think they had 5 drops in that game on Monday night. I think they actually said they lead the league right now in drops. It's like 8% or something like that in the NFL. Like we saw how many. You guys watched the game. It was like Christian Watson had like at least 2 of footballs go right through his hands. Valdez Scantling dropped the go-ahead touchdown. Travis Kelce fumbling the football. Like everything that could go wrong went wrong for them on Monday night. But if you're the Ravens right now, and look, considering like you will be getting Odell's getting healthier, hopefully that shoulder is not too much of an issue. We'll see the injury report later. Hopefully, at least practices one day this week. But as long as that's not an issue and they can keep moving forward with this offense and putting more Keith Mitchell in there, I think that the Ravens are catching the AFC at the right time, the whole conference at the right time. The Bengals are without Joe Burrow. The Browns are now without Deshaun Watson. Mahomes and the Chiefs, at least the offense, doesn't look like they're going to be putting up 35 points in anybody anytime soon right now. So this is the time. This is the time right now to take advantage of that and go forward. Now, I think also for the Ravens, let's see here. Odell, this was his first 100-yard game for the Ravens, 4 catches for 116. Now, I will ask you guys like about the Andrews tackle before we move on to the other subject. Do you think it was dirty? I think the culmination of his hit on Andrews, his hit on Lamar, and his hit on Odell. Now, I will say the Odell one looked like he was just going for the football. Like he was swatting down. But the Lamar tackle and the Andrews tackle, some are saying it looked dirty. Others saying, it's just part of the game. It happens. But it was the same guy. It was the same guy every play. He was trying to take out everybody. Did you guys have any like take on that? It was just kind of.
I honestly, I don't look at it as a dirty play. I mean, it's a legal tackle. So if anything, that's something that a competition committee is going to have to work out and decide if it's illegal or not, or make it illegal. And then guys continue to do it, then I feel like we can have that conversation. I mean, it does look bad when we had kind of 3 separate incidents where it happened to be the same guy. But like you said, the Odell one I don't count. That was him making a good play. The Lamar one I almost don't count either. I didn't like how he kind of held his leg standing up and stuff, but we see guys do that all the time. It's just like we don't want to see that, when he's doing it to Lamar Jackson. So I don't think it's a dirty play, honestly. I think it is something they're probably going to look at because from what they're saying, this particular type of tackle, the numbers on it have been steadily kind of on the rise as far as guys getting injured because of it. And I do kind of see the point. I mean, you're leveraging the guy's body who you're chasing, and you're pretty much throwing your body weight on their lower half, and that's going to generate some issues. So as far as it being dirty, I can't call it dirty because the guys are just doing what they're taught to do. I mean, get the guy down by any means necessary. And you got Andrews a couple steps away from the end zone. So like, what do you expect him to do chasing the guy from behind? You're not going to make an arm tackle against Andrews running full speed at the end zone. So, natural instinct as a defender is going to be to get him down. So no, I think it was unfortunate. I don't think it was dirty.
Yeah, I think a lot of things have come in my mind this week since this happened. One, like Wilson, like what the heck? I've never seen somebody be responsible for so many injuries in a game.
Right. One player.
Yeah.
Also, kind of like what Corey said, like I think this isn't a dirty play, but it is poor technique on both sides. I think poor technique tackling wise, guys just don't tackle with the proper technique and the drive. And, I never see Ray hurt a bunch of people like with injuries. He may like give him concussions, but like straight up injuries to the legs. I've never seen that happen with him. And he was a tackling machine. So I do think it is poor technique. And then, something Tom Brady said this week when talking about the NFL was that offensive guys play carefree. They don't play to protect themselves. And, the more I think about it, I think that is a big part of it as well, because guys kind of like just leave themselves out here. They aren't as protective. They're not initiating as much contact. So I think that plays a part. But dirty play, no. But I think with the way guys are built athletically, size-wise, and everything these days, we have to probably ban this and really get guys to focus more on technique to avoid these injuries.
Yeah, I heard that they said that, I brought this up to somebody else, and my issue, I get that. I can see why it's an issue, especially for the bigger guys, right? Tackling guys like Derrick Henry and the tight ends, like this can cause some serious injuries. The NFLPA may throw it back though, just by saying this is another way defensive players can't make plays, right? It's like it's now making it another way. It's like catch-22, right? Where it's like, if we keep the tackle, defense can still make the play, but you're injuring key players. But on the other hand, on the defensive side, they're like, well, now you're making it even that much harder for us to make plays. So they see a guy that's like a Mark Andrews and stuff like, I can't do the hip drop tackle. So it's like, well, he's just gonna have to score then. Because I'm like, there's really no way unless I grab him by the ankles or trip him up and he just falls forward or something. There's really no way for him to make the play. It's not an easy decision that's going to have to be made. It's definitely not going to be easy. But as they said, the NFLPA is probably going to push back a little bit on this, just because the defense is already saying, like, look, it's hard enough as it is, especially cornerbacks, right? And secondary players. Like I was telling somebody else, the NFL really needs to also look at, these pass interference calls and these underthrown deep balls. Like every time you're bailing the quarterback out for making a bad throw. The receiver's 5 yards, 10 yards upfield, turns around and the ball is falling behind him, but the cornerback is trying to play the ball and he gets called pass interference even though the ball is 5 yards behind him. I'm like, you're bailing the quarterback out. I wish some of those plays, it's like, yeah, you can throw the flag, but if you see it, pick the flag up, like, just keep it moving. I want them to get rid of that too. I'm sorry. I'm tired of bailing out these quarterbacks for making bad throws on that play. But
yeah, they're going to ban it. It's going to take the right superstar play. If they don't ban it in this offseason and they decide to wait around and collect more information, it's only going to take one more superstar player for it to happen to, and that's when they're going to make a decision, because they don't want star players getting eliminated from the game because of this. So. It's not going to take much. So I wouldn't be surprised if this happened, because this happens almost every game.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of if people are getting hurt, and no matter who gets hurt. Because
if
this happened to Travis Kelce, they would have already been called.
They would have banned it on. They would have banned it in. They would have banned it next week.
Yeah,
exactly. Can't do it anymore.
So yeah,
like Corey said, the Mendenhall was the only injury that Ray caused. I think I saw that Mendenhall was on a pod and was asked about Ray. He was like, yeah, I'm just gonna run straight at him. He said pregame, I'm gonna run straight at him. Ray was like, don't do it. Don't do it. Ray told him, he's like, yeah, man, I got the ball, ran straight at him.
Separate
Next
the
thing I
shoulder.
know, just broke my shoulder.
Yep.
Fractured
Yeah,
my shoulder. I was like,
I'm
yep.
sure he gave out a whole lot of undiagnosed concussions too back then.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so that was crazy. Can you hang on for one more segment, Trey? One more?
Yeah, that's my last one. Let's get it.
Okay. Week 11 news. So we'll obviously the big one is the Steelers fire Matt Canada. The good job for the Steelers. 11 weeks too late. I thought he was going to be fired the last season. This says the Steelers' first firing of a head coach or a coordinator since 1941. They don't do this. This is not something they do, especially in season. They don't do this. So this was unprecedented. I know a lot of people say, well, Tomlin had to make a decision. And this wasn't Tomlin. That was Rooney. This is all art. This is for as good. I'll say this, as good as a coach as Mike Tomlin is, I'll give him credit for the coaching part. He makes zero decisions when it comes to the inner workings of the Steelers. That's all the Rooney family, period. Any decision they make. The reason why Matt Canada was there is because I think either Mike Tomlin vouched for him just a little bit, or Rooney didn't. Again, it's precedent. They don't fire coaches in season. It's just nothing. They don't do this. But losing to the Browns with no Deshaun Watson against a rookie quarterback and only scoring, 10 points in that game?
It was bad.
Only 10. That was like, all right, we're done. Especially considering they have a winning record. So they're like, we still have a chance to make the playoffs here.
Yeah.
If we were 4-6, if this was reversed, we would have finished the season out, got another high draft pick or whatever. But 6-4 now, or whatever. I think they're 6-4. They still have a shot to make the playoffs here. There's still a chance with that defense that they have. So they get rid of him. Now I will say, I don't know who this new OC is. I really don't know who. I have no idea who this man is. I think he was the quarterback coach at one. I think he was a quarterback coach. But I don't think it's going to fix what ails that Steelers offense. I think some of it was the play calling. Don't get me wrong. Like the screen plays on 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6. Every time they would do back-to-back screen plays, and they would fail every time. Not getting the ball to Najee Harris, not getting the ball to George Pickens. I do think some of it was the play calling, but Kenny Pickett's part of that too. Like he was overthrown. He was thrown into no man's land on several occasions, and he's in his second year. And usually this is the time of season we saw last year where he starts to make that turn and become like, all right, he was playing a lot better last season towards the end. The Steelers offense was kind of rolling a little bit, and they were playing well. But we've seen him now for 11 weeks, and it's like he hasn't gotten any better. It hasn't gotten any better. And I just don't think – I think, the firing is going to hopefully light a fire for them under the Steelers. But at the same time, like, Kenny Pickett in this offense, it's just not going. I don't think this is going to be the Caldwell thing, what the Ravens did in 2012. I don't think this is going to be that for the Steelers.
No, not at all. But what it does is the fact that they did fire him tells me that they do have hope for trying to still make a push at the playoffs. So they're not like calling it in at this point. The good thing sometimes when you fire a coordinator, and I mean we've seen this in we've seen this in Vegas with the Raiders and how they just kind of fired everybody, the GM and the head coach. It's like when you have someone in the locker room who's kind of going against what everyone else in the locker room thinks we should be doing, and you push that person out, they're going to lean in now to what they think they should have been doing. And this is actually, we're going to see kind of a different mindset in these games going forward because, Mike Tomlin's probably going to make a lot more decisions than what he had to make when Matt Canada was pretty much running the offense. So no matter what team we get as far as offensively, whatever type of production, I don't know if it's going to increase because, I mean, you still got to have the guys. You still got to have, a quarterback who's able to deliver the ball where the ball needs to be. But at the same token, with Matt Canada out the building, we can kind of be like, all right, we're going to cut all this BS out. The goal of this game is going to be getting the ball to these playmakers to make plays. And that Matt Canada didn't really do a good job at letting his best players on offense make plays. And, it's been since, like you said, 1941 since they made a change mid-season. That tells you a lot, because I'm sure a lot of this was probably brought on not only just from the offense but from the defense. The defense has been playing so well, so lights out. They've been making so many plays for the offense and giving them so many different opportunities. This offense have had more opportunities than most teams just based on the playmaking from the defense. So they had to kind of do something, or they would have been looking at Mike Tomlin crazy. So, yeah, I still don't have them going very far. They are in better shape without Matt Canada, but at the same token, they still got the guys who they've had. So, they're gonna have to figure out a way. I'm not sure how tough their schedule is going forward, but just based on them being outplayed and outnumbered, all of these weeks up to this point, I don't really see a way around, them getting too much better than 6-4. Maybe a couple of more games, but outside of that, they're not. I can't see them hanging with Baltimore. I can't really see them hanging with. It's maybe between them and Cleveland, to scrap with each other to make the playoffs, but I just don't see it. But yeah, much deserved firing. It should have happened a long time ago, but they were hanging on with these wins. So, but I'm gonna go ahead and head out.
All right, man.
Run back to work for another hour, and then I will holler at y'all later.
Good Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, bro.
Happy Thanksgiving, fellas. Talk to you soon.
Nice to see you.
All right.
Yeah. Matt Canada should have never had an NFL offensive coordinator position. Even at the collegiate level, I've said it time and time again, he has accomplished nothing. He was terrible at LSU. He was terrible at the University of Maryland. Privilege got him this position. So it was a long time coming that he got fired. Should have never had the job. Been terrible. Like y'all said, doesn't get the ball in the hands of his playmakers. While y'all were talking, I did a little digging into the Steelers situation right now. So they have co-offensive coordinators. So their running backs coach has the quote-unquote, he's the head of facilitating the offense, and then the QB coach is calling the plays. That's a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, too many cooks in that kitchen.
Yeah, especially because the running backs coach has never been an OC at the NFL level. He was an OC once in his collegiate career. And then the quarterbacks coach was the OC for Tampa Bay when they were 32nd in offense. And he took over when Eli Manning was on the Giants, and they had the 31st best offense. So I don't see things getting better.
He doesn't get better, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't get better. It might get worse.
I see them going downhill. Like things could change. This is Mike Tomlin. He's a great coach.
Yeah.
But overall, I think they're gonna spiral. They're gonna spiral out. If they don't, Mike Tomlin is coach of the year. But I think when you have two offensive coordinators trying to figure this thing out that's already broken, yeah, you're gonna spiral out of control. You don't have the quarterback that you need. I don't think you have a legitimate number one wide receiver. You don't get your running back the ball, who's not a tier one running back, but he's a serviceable option. He's a solid running back. But I see it spiraling. I don't see them being a threat anymore. Like I said, if they make a run, it is totally on Mike Tomlin and that defense. But they waited too long to make this move. This move should have been made in the offseason.
Yeah, I think the Steelers, if they already had their bye week, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, week 6 was their bye. So that's the tough part about this for them, right? It's if they had made that change around week 5, they at least have a bye week to kind of coaches can get themselves together and figure out what they want to do. But now they have they got to play every week from here on out. They got like a mini bye coming up, I think, when they got to play a primetime game, like a Thursday night. But they got to play every week. So they don't really have the benefit of like, all right, we have a honeymoon period, right? Because now the pressure's on. The AFC is really tight right now. It's a lot of teams vying for a position. And they know, any loss here or there, they still got 2 Bengals games coming up. They got to play the Bengals twice. This is without, Joe Burrow, but Jake Browning, was serviceable for the second half. He was okay. He was decent. And they got to play the Bengals twice, and they still got to come play us. I think we got the home game. We got the week 18. So
Mm-hmm.
this is definitely not a gimme. They got, I think, next week. Yeah, they got the Bengals next Sunday. This Sunday coming up, they got the Bengals. Then they got the Cardinals, Patriots, Colts, Bengals again, Seahawks in Seattle, and then us.
Yeah.
So it's not
it's a tough road.
It's a winnable schedule, but like Trey said, maybe 3. Maybe they do what they did like the 9-8. Maybe they do 9-8. But like I said, the Browns are, look, even though without Deshaun Watson, it's still going to be, that had to be a big boost for them beating the Steelers, because they're 7-3 now. So I mean, the Browns are still in it. The Bengals could still. So it's not like it's just the Ravens and another team going at it, right? If it was just the Ravens and Steelers like, all right, as long as we keep pace, we can meet up with the Ravens in week 18 and possibly win this division. Now they got 3. They still got to play the Bengals twice.
Yeah,
still got to play the Bengals
when it's
twice.
week 12, when it's week 12 and you still don't have an identity, that's scary, because now you're having to remold it on the fly without a bye week. So it's not looking good. Not looking good at all. They have a lot of winnable games, mainly the Bengals and the Arizona game. Outside of that, I don't see them winning anything else. I don't even see them beating the Patriots.
Really? You think they're going to lose the Patriots too?
Kenny Pickett,
if they lose the Patriots, it's done.
Kenny Pickett's QBR is 30, man.
Yeah,
he is a weak quarterback.
Yeah, if they lose the Patriots, I think it's done, because the Patriots are one of the worst teams of football right now. If they lose to New England, it's a wrap.
Yeah.
It's I mean, they have the talent. I think they're going to draw a pretty good offensive coordinator from somewhere. I don't know where that comes from, but I guess, like you said, I don't know who Mike Canada knows. Maybe it's because I know Tom has strong connections with the University of Maryland. Maybe it has something to do with that. Again, like you said, it doesn't sound like he knew somebody. He knows somebody in a high place in the Pittsburgh organization is why he got the job. Because he, since day one, has not been good there at all.
Great value, Josh McDaniels.
Yeah. The other part of this too is that this puts a lot of pressure on Kenny Pickett now, because now you can't look at offensive coordinators going for the rest of the year. They already know, like, look, man, we're just interim. We're just here to do a job, but now all the pressure, everybody looked at Matt Canada. Now he's gone. You can't blame him anymore. But now the eyes are going to start looking at Kenny Pickett. If Kenny Pickett continues to play as bad as he's been for the next couple of weeks, now the people are going to start talking. They're going to be like, is Kenny Pickett really even our starting quarterback? Should we look at a quarterback in next year's draft?
Yeah.
This next year, do we have to look at another starting QB possibly?
Yeah. Jeff Saturday said it best. He's playing for his job.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. Because, look, Pickett hasn't been getting the ball. He's been complaining about that for the last few weeks now. Johnson's been getting the ball, but they don't have Freiermuth. I'll say this, and plus, look, people don't understand too, on that defensive side, they're losing people now. Like Holcomb's out, I think, for the year. They already lost. Not Highsmith, was another linebacker they had. Holcomb and I can't remember his name. Another one of their linebackers that they lost. I can't remember his name. What is his name?
I'm checking for you. It's Holcomb and Quan Alexander.
Quan Alexander. Okay, yeah. They said Quan Alexander was effectively, like, I think had the green dot. Him or Holcomb had the green dot. So it was, they said those two were instrumental in making sure that, defensive line and linebackers and everybody, at least in the box, knew they were supposed to line up. But they're starting to fall. And this is one of those things where, if they lose either Highsmith or TJ Watt at this point, that's it. I think their best unit is starting to fall down, because, like I said, they had an early bye week, so now they got to play all these weeks, and then they just had an AFC North division, and they had an AFC North battle against the Browns, and lost, and now they got the Bengals coming in this week. After the Ravens, beat them, the Bengals will be looking for blood. And look, Logan Wilson's lurking right around the corner. Logan Wilson's like, this man's gonna go. Logan Wilson's gonna be. I'm gonna take out somebody. He's gonna try to take out two Steelers or something like that during this. He's gonna be on. Logan Wilson is gonna be effectively the enforcer from here on out for the Bengals. Yeah, that's what he's gonna be.
And the injuries are so bad for the Steelers. Miles Jack just came out of retirement to be on their practice squad. Yeah, that's insane. It's looking bleak. It's looking very bleak.
Because he was the fact that he had to call a man off his couch, he was done. We need your help, man. That's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. They're pretty bad space right now. So, but another week 11 news, obviously. What was it? I think that was it. No, with the Bills. I want to talk about that Bills game. Who did the Bills? Bills win against the Jets 32-6. Obviously, a good game for Josh Allen. Josh Allen said he was back. He said, "I'm back." It's the Jets. It's whatever. Is Aaron Rodgers even going to come back to this? Does it? Zach Wilson got put to QB3. He's not even QB2. He's QB3 on that depth chart now. Like, I don't know. I know Aaron Rodgers said he's going to try to come back in 2 fortnights, whatever that means. 2 weeks, 4 weeks. Because I think a fortnight is 2 weeks or 14 days. So it's like he's not going to come back. If this team is not going to be in playoff contention, he's not going to come back. He's not going to come back. And that O-line is not getting any better. I think Becton went down. Mekhi Becton went down in that game against the Bills. That was the last good offensive lineman they had.
Yeah.
If I'm Aaron Rodgers, I'm not coming back. In record time, I'm going to ruin my career possibly by coming. Nah, there's no way. There's no way. I don't think it's sad. I don't think Robert Saleh maybe survives this. I think his hesitancy the last couple of weeks of not being committal on who the quarterback was going to be when he was like plead the fifth about Zach Wilson, and I was just like, that was a bad look. It was just, I don't know. It's just sometimes, look, not everybody is made to be head coach. It's a different type of job. And I'm not. He's had a bad run of it because he's had Zach Wilson as his quarterback. Not really his choice. He's had Zach Wilson as a quarterback. He thought he was getting Aaron Rodgers, 2-time MVP, and then he gets hurt in the fourth play of the first game, and now you're back to Zach Wilson. And as well as the defense has been playing each week, I think at this point now the defense is like, all right, what are we doing out here? Like they can see it on the offensive side. They can't move the ball.
Yeah.
They can't do anything.
Not at all. I think this is similar to the Matt Canada situation where you should have made a move a long time ago and now it's too late. Now, there's talent on the Jets. They're not a great team, but there's enough talent to make a playoff push. But the most important piece is your quarterback. Like if you don't have that quarterback play locked up, it's going to be a struggle, period. And they knew who Zach Wilson was for 2 years. 2 years. And they decided not to make a move. They put the ball in his hands. And I think, he had a couple average games, and we took that as he's arrived. But they were average games. They weren't great games. They were average. And I think their head coach has done himself in because you held on to this quarterback who you weren't confident in, but you held on to him. And they didn't bring in a guy. I mean, to be honest, you might as well have brought in Kaepernick the way Zach Wilson played. But there were so many moves to be made there. They could have made a bigger push with Flacco at quarterback. And Flacco is like, he's a part-time QB these days. So if I'm Aaron Rodgers, I don't make a push to come back this season. Sit it out. What's the point? Yeah. What is the point? Especially if you really want to get another solid year in. Wait till next year. Let the Jets figure out what their next move is, head coach-wise, OC-wise. If Aaron Rodgers is coming back, there's definitely a big chance he could get Devontae Adams still. The Jets have pieces they can move. They have a lot of talent. so they can make the move for Devontae Adams in the offseason. I think, Aaron, sit it out. Let this season be what it is. Robert Saleh, hey, I pray you have a job next year because you sat on this QB that everybody knows is terrible. He is single-handedly ruined this season for this team outside of the Achilles rupture. And you can't ride your horse on that. You can't attach yourself to something that's just not working and just pray you get somewhere based upon all the other personnel. That's just not how it is. The quarterback's the most important position in NFL. You have to have a guy that's competent in there, a guy that's you're confident in. Otherwise, you're going to be out of a job, and that's what we're going to see with these Jets. As far as the Bills, Josh Allen ain't back.
No,
the Jets are giving up. That's simply what it is. They have so little faith in Zach Wilson. They are starting to give up, and the season is crumbling because of it. You can see it all around that team. The body language is so poor. I'm not going to buy into the Bills are back. The Bills played a good game. Josh Allen played a good game. But until I see him do that against a formidable opponent and not turn the ball over 3 or 4 times, I'm not buying it.
Yeah. The other game I want to talk about is obviously the Chiefs and the Eagles. It was an ugly game. It was by both teams. There are a few missed opportunities. Obviously, we saw at one point A.J. Brown get into it with Jalen Hurts. They would show that one play. I think Jalen threw it short, and A.J. was like upfield, like he was throw it over the top, man, touchdown. Missed that. It was back and forth throughout the game. But the amount of drop balls, was it 5, I think, in this game by the receivers. It's one thing I think we've been convincing ourselves as fans that certain quarterbacks like the Peyton Mannings, the Tom Brady's, and Big Bens or whatever are able to, no matter who we have out there throwing the football to, can overcome this and still win these football games. But it appears that these Kansas City Chief wide receivers, they're not even good enough. Right? They're just not. Pat Mahomes was 24 of 43, 177 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick. And he made an uncharacteristic pick in the end zone. Like, Kenneth Byard was just sitting right there, and he just threw it right to him. And, I mean, that was an uncharacteristic pick right there. Of course, Kelsey fumbles the ball in a key moment there. They've been mentioning – look, I don't want to bring this up, but they've been mentioning, like, when Taylor Swift isn't at these games, Kelsey is not playing well.
Oh, is she not at the games?
When she's not at the game, Kelsey's numbers are pretty pedestrian.
Yeah.
They're pretty pedestrian. Now, he did score a touchdown, I think, in this game. What did he have? He had – let me pull up the Chiefs. He had receiving 7 catches of 44 yards and a touchdown. But, I mean, that's pedestrian for Travis Kelce.
Yeah, he gets up for Taylor.
But they were doubling him all game. And that's another thing, right? The league is starting to realize with Valdez-Scantling and Watson and Sky Moore, I don't even know if he's on the field anymore at this point. They're not worried about them. They're like, we can man up on everybody else. We'll just double Kelce. Like, we're not afraid of anybody else. And it's showing now. Like, I mean, the numbers that Mahomes put up through 43 times, only 170 something yards. That's it. Like, that's nuts. And if you're the Chiefs fans, and you're looking like, I don't know, man. Like, this may not be. This probably isn't our year this year. And we had the Eagles come in to our house on Monday Night Football, and the Chiefs had one of the best home records, especially in prime time, as long as Andy Reid and Mahomes have been there. And they lost. They lost that football game. There was an opportunity. I think it was like 4 minutes left in the game. The Chiefs had the ball, right? I thought the Eagles had a chance to end the game right there, right? But they go 3 and they get like a holding penalty or something, and they have to end up punting the football. And I'm like, 4 minutes. This is Mahomes' time, right? This is the time that Mahomes and them are going to win the football game. They're going to hold on to the ball for 4 minutes. They're going to score the touchdown. Game's going to be over. And of course, I think that wasn't Valdez-Scantling, but I think Watson dropped the ball. There was like a Hail Mary type play, went right through Watson's hands. Mm-hmm. And that's it. Like, it's like if he has Tyreek Hill, if he has any of those other players he's had the last 2 years, the Chiefs probably win that football game on that drive. But you're starting to see now, even Mahomes, and as good as Mahomes is, it's not going to be good enough to overcome this offense. No matter what what Andy Reid draws up on this point, you still got to have guys execution, right? We talk about that all the time. You still got to have guys execute. No matter how good the play is, they're not catching the football. It's not really going to matter that much. Like they showed at the end of the game, Mahomes was trying to toss, I think, his gloves to a fan, and even he dropped it. He was just like, everybody drop it. Just dropping everything I'm throwing, man. Dropping everything I'm throwing. So, I mean, it's look, again, the Eagles still didn't play their best. They still haven't played their best game yet. Still haven't played their best game. And they're sitting at what 10-1 or 9-1, something like that. I think 9-1. So they're still sitting at 9. They still haven't played their best game yet. They're still sitting at 9-1. But I said on the AFC side, if you're the Ravens fan looking at the Chiefs right now, you're like, oh, we can with Brandon Stevens, Kyle Hamilton, we rotating between Rocky Sin and Darby and whatever Marlon Humphrey's going to give you. And you got Geno Stone and Marcus Williams back there as well. If I'm the Ravens defense, I'm liking our chances.
Yeah.
For real.
I mean, when you look across the landscape, and I was honest with myself when I was talking to some friends, what team looks better than the Ravens? Like if we just look at the eye test, what team looks better? Because if you look at it, the Ravens have only looked bad in the fourth quarter of 3 games. That's it. Rest of the time, they've been able to do what they need to do to take the lead and be in charge and dictate a game, except for 3 quarters across the season. So when I look at the Eagles, we keep saying they haven't played their best game, but maybe this is who they are. I'm just really starting to think maybe because their OC Brian Johnson, and I mean this is a guy I think I wanted as an OC for the Ravens. Bad call on my part, but he looks very incompetent. I mean, I think the only thing they really have going for them as an offense is let's throw it up to AJ Brown and push some tush. Like that's all they have going for them. So I think they're so beatable. Their secondary is so terrible. I mean, I think we could destroy them in the past game. The Chiefs, that offense is awful. They're putting up 22 points a game because of Mahomes. If Mahomes isn't there, they're putting up like 11 points a game. That's how bad that offense is. They can run the ball, but these wide receivers can't catch. They don't get open. The offensive line is the greatest. They look really bad offensively. Stats aside, because Mahomes is going to get his stats because he's going to pull them Superman plays out of his back pocket. But if those are the teams that are the contenders, I like our chances because they don't look good. I don't see a team in the NFL that scares me at all. I'm looking at the standings right now. I still don't. I don't see one team in the NFC or the AFC that scares me if I'm a Ravens fan. Only thing that can scare me is us and Harbaugh.
Yeah, right. I think that's been the Ravens' biggest enemy is themselves. Right. That's been their biggest issue is themselves. And I mean, you look at the Browns game that they lost. They didn't close the game out. They closed the game out. They were 14 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, like I said, we pulled that stat out. I think last week before the Bengals game. And like how they lead, like of all the teams that have, like I think they showed the 72 Dolphins and the 84 Bears or whatever that had the least amount of time of actually trailing a football game, and they were all 10-0, and the Ravens are only ones who were 7 and that lost 3 games because they couldn't close the game out. That's been their Achilles heel for not just the last 2 years, for a while now. That's just been their Achilles heel, not closing these games out. We go back to 2014 when the Ravens played the Patriots, and it was the AFC divisional game. And 2 different times in that game, they led by 14 points and still lost a football game. So, I mean, it's definitely, look, Kadri said it, and a few other people are starting to say it seems to be a Harbaugh thing. Letting up off the gas, telling the coordinators, all right, ease up, we got it, we're good. Play this prevent defense, and then before you know it, the team is only behind by 3 points, and now you're panicking. Now you're just throwing the ball over the field. So, if the Ravens can just get out of their own way and understand where they are in the football game, how much time is left. All right, let's let's just play keep away at this point. That kind of it's very simple, right? It's very simple. And I think in that Chiefs-Eagles game, the Chiefs showed the recipe, at least for the first 3 quarters of that game, how to stop the Eagles from getting to that 3rd and 1 or 3rd and shorts to do the shove. They would just blitz them on 1st and 2nd down. They would just provide pressure, making them play anything third 5 and longer, 3rd and 5 or longer was the formula. Was like, all right, let's just blitz them on 1st and 2nd down. If we can get a sack or a tackle for loss and force them to have to push the ball downfield, we can win this football game. Yeah. It wasn't until the 4th quarter that they started they let the Eagles finally get to those 3rd and 1s, and then the Eagles ended up closing the game out. But they showed the recipe, right? They were like, and the Ravens again lead the league in sacks right now. They showed, I think, once Burrow went out of that game against the Ravens blitz rate went up like dramatically after that. Once Drake Browning was in the game, the Ravens just were sending everybody. So I think that Hurts is playing with I think his knee. He's got some padding or something they put in his tights or something. Supposed to be around his knee. I don't know what the full issue is with his knee, but he's not playing 100% clearly. But I think the recipe is there. If you're Ravens and watching that Chiefs film back, they gave you, and they have the interior players to do it. They got Chris Jones, but the Ravens have Matt BK. You got Clowney. Odafe always keep playing the way he's playing, and you still got Queen and Roquan as well. I think if they can provide pressure on Jalen Hurts early and keep him out of these 3rd and short situations, the Ravens, I think for the Ravens, what's going to be key for them playing these type of teams, whether it be the Chiefs or the Eagles, is they got to get up early. Yeah. I don't think these teams are capable right now of coming back on anybody.
Right.
If they keep it close, they have a chance to win. But if the Ravens from here on out play kind of in their mind, everybody they play, let's just get up on them early and play that kind of football, that kind of formula for the next 5 to 6 weeks, I think we're in good position. So
yeah, aggressive, balanced football.
All right, let's go on to the Ravens Chargers preview. So the Ravens fly into LA. I think they said they're getting there. They're leaving Friday night, I believe, after practice. And again, we don't have an injury report yet, so we won't know. We don't know who's on the list. Hopefully, it's not too bad. But they're going into the Chargers this week. Now, look, the Chargers. Staley just had that awful press conference he had about saying my play calling is impeccable. Now I'm paraphrasing here, but my play calling is great. You don't ask any more questions about who's calling plays on defense. I'm calling the plays on defense. We're good. We just gotta. He basically said the players aren't executing the way they're supposed to be executing. That's what he said. For 11 weeks now, he's basically saying the defense sucks, and it's not my fault. I'm not the problem. I just want to read some rankings out here. For the the Chargers defense real quick. They're 23rd in opponent points per game, 31st in yards allowed per game, 29th in yards per play per game, 27th against rushing TDs. That's not good. 31st in yards per pass, 30th in passes per game allowed. Opponent pass yards per game, dead last, and opponent pass play percentage 62%. So teams are going into the Chargers throwing the ball. Like they're throwing it to the secondary because they can't stop. They can't do anything with their secondaries. Trash. They're not. Look, now Joey Bosa, I think I don't know if they said he's out for the season. I'm not sure, but he's out for a significant amount of time.
Yeah,
he's not playing this week. I know that, but he's not playing this week. So that's another big loss to this pass rush defense. Look, I know the Ravens love rushing the football, but again, with the wide receiver talent they have right now and everybody's healthy, I think you gotta let it be like this, kind of like the Lions game for the Ravens. Let this be like the Lions game and just like rack up 20 points in the first half, 2021, get up 3 touchdowns and just kind of, run this thing out at the end. Because I will say this. I think the element of it feels like the Chargers locker room, I'm pretty sure after that interview he had or the press conference he had, this is that you're going to get fired game. This is that game where I think the Ravens are going to put it on the Chargers so bad that the owner is going to have no choice. Like, you're gone. You're done. You're done. Like, I think it's going to be that bad. And I think the Chargers, I think this is one of those games where the Chargers defense after a while may just give up. Yeah, whatever. We're done. This game's over. The fact that he came out and said that this defense is not pulling its own weight, that this defense isn't doing what it's supposed to do for 11 weeks, and he hasn't made any adjustments, playing this prevent types of defense, all this other stuff, and this has been going on for the last 3 years he's been there. I think this is that he gets fired kind of game. And I think that this will be a good tune-up game before the bye week for the Ravens to get Odell, Zay, Bateman, all of them working whatever they're going to be working now, of course, with Andrews out, more of these intermediate routes, allowing them to work the middle of the field. Love to see Zay get some more of these like crossing stuff so that he can bolt up the field and get touchdowns. You know, obviously the ref stole that one from Zay, that screenplay, the touchdown. They stole that one. Was that Keaton or Zay? I think it was Keaton. Was that Keaton?
What did they call the holding on?
Yeah,
No,
they called it on Odell. I know they called it on Odell,
but it was Zay that caught it.
Was it Zay or Keaton for that touchdown?
Yeah, it was Zay.
It was Zay, right?
Yeah, he caught it on the outside. Yep.
And took it upfield. So I'm like, there's going to be opportunity for Zay. I think that's what they always say. When one player goes down, it allows opportunities for everybody else to kind of elevate. So it's the only thing it's going to do is help Lamar's rapport with all the other receiving options, right? Now I will say, I mean, as much as Lamar has leaned on Andrews in previous years, it's felt like he hasn't leaned on him as much this season. Like he's definitely thrown to him, but he's not. It doesn't feel like he's just looking at Mark like he used to. Like the last 3 years, like Lamar is clearly looking for 89. He clearly right where 89 is because he didn't trust anyone. But now with Odell playing and Bateman and the rest of these, he's looking at everyone else now. If Mark is open, of course he'll get it to him. But no longer, I think for the last few weeks especially, he has options now. He knows he has options. And I think that going into this game against this, how bad this secondary is, and kind of just let Lamar and whatever you guys are working on this week to kind of get ready for, after the bye week, this is an opportunity to get that stuff on film and see how it looks. Again, I just think this is a game that could get very out of hand real quick for the Ravens. And look, it'll be a good thing for the Ravens defense to, I'm pretty sure they feel bad the last 2 weeks of how they've been allowing these, teams running on them. Roquan and Queen haven't been great in pass coverage either. So I think this is a good game for the bye week to have have a good taste in your mouth, before the bye week, knowing that you're before you get to the bye week and then to go into that week, was it week 14, and you start off and leave on a good note on both sides of the ball. Just gonna have a complete game and like, all right, let's get rid of this final stretch ahead to the playoffs.
Yeah. This is a good week to taste the yams, man.
Yeah, taste the yams this week. Taste the yams.
Yeah. But I think this is a great game to start to develop our secondary identity. Not our DBs, but like when Mark is back, we're in the playoffs, and teams start taking that away first. Where do we go now in the passing game? I think this is a great time to start developing that. Like, are we more of a spread team? Do we stick with our base identity? How are we playing with Mark out? So this is a great game to see that. I mean, this is a team that is acceptable to the pass. So I definitely want to see how we incorporate the receivers. Are we going to do more 4 wide personnel? Are we going to go 3 wide, one tight end? I think it's a great time for Zay to start breaking out. Zay has been steady all season, but he's had these highs and lows as far as like impact on the game. So I definitely want to see Zay get more opportunity. I want to see Likely get more opportunity. And I think it is a good week for Odell to have limited snaps. Granted, Odell gets a lot of limited snaps, even when he has these big games. He doesn't play as much as the other guys. But I think it's just great for us to try to spread the ball around, really use our wide receivers, and see what this offense can really be when we kick it into high gear and be more wide receiver driven and Mark Andrews driven. So that's what I'm kind of looking for in this game. The Chargers are just bad defensively. And they also lost another linebacker, Miles. Another starting linebacker is down. He's out for the game. So they're depleted. They're depleted all the way across. And, I mean, they have probably the most incompetent coach in the league, I believe, in Brandon Staley. So I think, Harbaugh should be able to look better this game than he typically does. But I think overall we should dominate. Defensively, I think we could get to Justin Herbert, force him into some mistakes. Um, I, 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 the only threat they have for me offensively that they use would be Keenan Allen.
Yeah.
They don't use their running backs very, very well. So I think the biggest threat is Keenan Allen. I think that's another challenge for Brandon Stevens. And honestly, if I think Brandon Stevens can show up and put the straps on Keenan Allen, I mean, you can bookmark and book his trip to being a Pro Bowl selection and a possible All Pro player because he's been battling great wide receivers all year and really been shutting them down. Um, but I think another key where we can really move the needle in this game is like we talked about earlier, getting those key plays in for Keaton Mitchell. That wheel route, the wheel route we've loved since preseason. We threw it once to him, he dropped it. But I think getting him more involved in the passing game, this is a perfect game to get him those reps. I mean, I don't think it's going to be a close game, but I think like this is a game where we start to see what we can do later down the line. And I think we need to use this game as such to really see what other wrinkles can we add to this team, what other packages can we establish, and see what other playmakers we can create. Because I know one thing, and this is a different sport, but basketball, there have been times as a Lakers fan when AD would get hurt and other players would step up and then we would see what we have in other people. So that's what I want to see here with the Ravens. I want to see what we have in these other people and how this offense can move. But I think this is a perfect game. Perfect game. I expect it to be total domination. But I am always wary of the dreaded Harbaugh game.
Yeah. This will be everything lined up for them to be dominant in this game, right? These are those games where we have Ravens fans get hyped up and we're like, oh no, Harbaugh, please don't. Just don't. The only thing I think that will the reason why it won't happen, I think, is because Monken, Lamar, and them, I think, are on the right wavelength now about what they want to do. Getting Keaton Mitchell involved, and the defense has been playing well enough for them to not have these kind of games. And like you said, Brandon Stevens, look, he is your best cornerback on the team. He's going to be on Keenan Allen. If he stops Keenan Allen, they don't have anybody else. I mean, that's it about it. Eckler could provide some issues like Mixon did last week because he is a speed back out of the backfield and to catch the ball. But Herbert hasn't been playing his best football this year. It just feels like the Chargers are at that turning point, right? Either they correct the season, they kind of flip it around and correct the season now, or this is it. Like if they lose to the Ravens in bad fashion on primetime football, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. It's done. And look, they said that they did say the Ravens, I think, have been dressing 3 tight ends every week. So now with Mark Andrews out, it could be Vokalek time from the practice squad.
Big 6'9".
For y'all that watched the preseason, he said 6'9". Is that how big he is?
I don't know. I think he's like 6'7", 6'8".
6'7". He's huge. Like he's a big dude. Like I mean, if anything, he provides like a huge target for him in the middle of the field or at least in the end zone. Where he can just have a jump ball and just go get it or whatever. So I don't know, but they did say they worked out O.J. Howard, I think, this week too. Then they did say they worked out O.J. Howard. Now he has history with Monken because he was in that Browns offense back in, I think, 2019. And it's one of his better seasons he had with Monken. So I haven't heard anything. So if they haven't signed him by now, I don't think he's going to play this week. Which means it could be Vokalek maybe being called up to dress this weekend. So we could see how that works out. But again, I think that with Mark Andrews has done, it has kind of overshadowed what Kolar and Likely usually do. Now they do say that Likely is not the best pass blocker when he's in there and things like that, but he does what we've seen him be able to do. He's able to be sure-handed for the most part, and he has great yard after the catch maneuver. So I'm like, again, this is what Monken was brought in to do, right? He's known for his being able to utilize tight ends to their best ability, getting the most out of his tight ends. And now with Andrews out, he's going to have to get the most out of Kolar and likely and whoever that third guy's going to be. But this will be the game to do it. This will be the game to do it. I think if Lamar doesn't even have to have a 300-yard game this game, right? If Lamar throws for like 250, 275, I think that's a good game for the Ravens. That's a good game. Yeah. I think Keaton should get about like maybe 7 or 8 touches running the ball and maybe 3 or 4 targets catching the ball. And you get Gus 10 or 11, 12, touches running the ball. I think Zay should probably getting the most receiving targets in this game for them for sure. I think they got to get him ramped up. It's time to get Zay ramped up now, right? For this last push through the regular season to get in the playoffs. You got Odell ramped up. Odell is in mid-season form. He's a veteran. He knows what he has to do to get there. But for a rookie, for Zay, I think it's time for him and Bateman, if they can get them to that next level, where this offense could be dangerous. So, so let's get our scores. I saw Trey put, I think, 35-20 Ravens. 35-20 for his score. 35-20. I'm gonna say Ravens drop 40 points. 40 to 13. Ravens. 40 to 13. Ooh. I think they've been consistently dropping 30 points each week. And I think with this defense that the Chargers have, and with all that's going on inside that locker room, this is a recipe for disaster for the Chargers. So I think they put up 40 points.
Ooh, you
and this game is over. Game is over by fourth quarter. The game is over at the end of the third quarter. This game is over.
You stole that. You stole that from me. I gotta change my score.
You don't have to change it. It could be the same score. You can say
no. The 40 burger you stole from me. The 40 burger. I got 42-14. Okay. Historically, Justin Herbert plays terrible against the Ravens.
Yeah.
I think he's had 2 matchups and he's played some of his worst football. I think this Ravens defense is primed to just come out there and smack this team around. I think offensively we get up early and then we start dominating in the run game. And I think All-Pro Stevens gets a pick 6. I think it's time for him to get that pick 6. In my mind, the more I watch my guy Brandon Stevens, I know I keep talking about him, but he's starting to remind me of Chris McAllister. Not even just the number, but the game, physical football. And I think he gets that pick 6, shuts Keenan Allen down. I think they get some garbage touchdowns, but I think this is a full domination from start to finish. 42-14 Ravens.
I'll say this before we go, though. Like, Brandon Stevens, they're going to have to sign him, right? I think you got to come to Marlon and say, like, we going to need some of that money, man. We going to need some of that money because we got to pay Brandon. We don't want to keep him. He's one of those few homegrown guys that, like, look, we haven't hit on a lot of cornerbacks lately, and we hit on this guy. Like, we got to keep him. And he didn't even come in as a cornerback. He came in as a safety.
Yeah.
Like, he was a sort of safety / running back in college, I think he was. I think he played corner, like, in high school. Like, the fact that he's one of the best corners in the league right now, like, the Ravens are like, I'm pretty sure they're going to be calling him, look, Marlon, we love you and everything. We love, your energy on the team, but we're going to need some of that cash next year.
Yeah. There's going to be some hurt feelings in the offseason because, you're in that position where, Brandon Stevens got to get paid. Will you pay Matabuke or you pay Queen? Which one are you paying? The interior pass rusher or the linebacker?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, and the thing is, a lot of guys, and this is kind of off topic, but EDC has been drafting a lot of slow developers, like slow burners. Like, they come in, they're raw, they got to be coached up, but then they're starting to peak now. You look at Gino, you see Stevens, always is trajecting that way.
Yeah.
So and Queen, Queen was a first rounder, but he was looking like he was a bust at first. But a lot of slow developers. But now it's like, okay, I got to pay these guys. And my guys that have been paid are starting to look a little shaky. Marlon's not looking terrible, but he's not looking all pro or worth that contract. But, it's going to be some hurt feelings this offseason. I totally see it.
It is what it is, man. You gotta, even when you get the contract, right? You still gotta play. If you play well, they're not gonna come to you asking for money. They're like, no, that's our best player. We ain't touching. You start acting up, Ronnie Stanley and Marlon. You're like, look, you gotta come for that money, man.
Ronnie would be lucky to be on this team next year.
Yeah, you're right. So you mentioned like Justin Herbert typically doesn't play well. Herbert has a 67.8 passer rating against the Ravens, 195 yards and a touchdown and 1 interception. So it's not good
at all.
It's not good. 22 out of 39. Yeah, 56% completion percentage. So it's not and this wasn't this when he played that was 2021, the last time he played the Ravens. Not even this defense. So you already know.
It's insane.
You already know.
I feel bad for him. Yeah, I see us getting like 5 sacks this game.
Yeah, they've been getting that comfortably, almost 4 or 5 sacks each game. So
yeah,
but yeah, like Trey said, yeah, Stevens against Keenan Allen. I want to see him another throw-out performance from Stevens, man. He's on a roll right now, and
it's a primetime game.
Keep locking him down. Just keep locking him down. Start calling him Strap Stevens after a while instead of Brandon. Strap Stevens.
That's a wild name. Strap Stevens.
Strap Stevens. All right. Yeah, that's it for us this week. So everybody have a good Turkey Day and enjoy yourselves. Don't eat too much. Have a good I'm looking forward to is the leftovers. That's what leftovers are always my favorite. The leftovers.
Yeah, always.
Give some more time to marinate.
Let them yams marinate.
Let the yams marinate. Let the yams marinate as much as possible.
Yeah.
So,
glaze them yams.
Anyway, that's it for us this week. We'll catch you guys hopefully after another Ravens win, and then we'll do a bye week episode and kind of preview the rest of this season, hopefully into the playoffs. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys later. Peace.